Welcome to Ask Prep, your trusted companion for UPSC and IAS preparation. Today, we explore a compelling and thought-provoking topic in ethics and society, which is ethical dilemmas in public administration. Public administrators often face situations where they must navigate conflicting values, rules, and responsibilities while ensuring accountability and fairness. Ethical dilemmas arise when decision-makers are torn between two or more equally important ethical principles or when personal beliefs clash with professional duties. For UPSC aspirants, understanding ethical dilemmas is critical as it forms a key part of topics like ethics in governance, decision-making, and case studies in the ethics paper. These dilemmas test an administrator's ability to balance conflicting priorities, uphold integrity, and make decisions that serve the greater good. Through this session, we'll examine real-world scenarios, the causes of ethical dilemmas, and practical strategies to address them. By delving into this topic, you'll gain a nuanced understanding of how public administrators can act ethically while navigating the complexities of governance. Without further delay, let's get started. Starting with introduction, public administration is the backbone of governance, responsible for implementing policies, delivering public services, and upholding the principles of democracy. However, public administrators often encounter ethical dilemmas, situations where they must make challenging decisions involving competing values, interests, or priorities. These dilemmas arise from the dynamic interplay of personal values, institutional goals, political influences, and societal expectations. Ethical dilemmas in public administration are particularly significant because the decisions made by administrators impact the lives of millions. Issues such as balancing fairness with efficiency, maintaining transparency while safeguarding confidentiality, and resisting political pressures while adhering to professional integrity are common challenges faced by officials. Understanding and addressing these ethical dilemmas is crucial for fostering accountability, ensuring equitable governance, and building public trust. By navigating these complex situations with a clear moral compass and a commitment to public welfare, public administrators play a vital role in upholding the values of justice, equity, and democracy. Here are some more points we will discuss. Conflict between public interest and organizational goals, dilemma. Public administrators may face situations where organizational policies conflict with the larger public interest. For instance, a policy aimed at increasing revenue might impose undue financial burdens on marginalized groups. Resolution. Administrators need to prioritize public welfare while working within the framework of organizational goals, often advocating for policy revisions. Example, implementing steep hikes in utility charges without considering the socio-economic impact on lower-income households. Political pressures versus professional integrity, dilemma. Public administrators are often pressured by political authorities to make decisions that may not align with ethical or legal standards. Resolution, upholding professional standards and following transparent procedures while diplomatically addressing political expectations. Example, favoring a politically connected contractor for a public project over a more deserving candidate. Transparency versus confidentiality, dilemma. Administrators must strike a balance between being transparent with the public and maintaining confidentiality on sensitive matters. Resolution, carefully evaluating the potential risks and benefits of disclosure and adhering to legal and ethical guidelines. Example, deciding whether to disclose information about a public health issue that could cause widespread panic. Equity versus efficiency, dilemma. Public administrators often struggle to balance equitable service delivery with efficient resource utilization. Resolution, ensuring that decisions are inclusive, fair, and based on clearly defined criteria. Example, allocating limited healthcare resources in a way that maximizes overall benefit but may overlook marginalized communities. Personal values versus professional responsibilities, dilemma. Personal beliefs and values may sometimes conflict with professional duties. Resolution, separating personal beliefs from professional responsibilities and acting in accordance with the law and institutional policies. Example, a public administrator with personal opposition to a particular policy, such as alcohol licensing, may struggle with issuing licenses as part of their role. Short-term benefits versus long-term sustainability, Dilemma: choosing between actions that provide immediate benefits and those that promote long-term sustainability. Resolution: adopting a holistic approach to decision-making that considers long-term impacts alongside short-term gains. Example: approving a development project that generates short-term employment but causes long-term environmental degradation. Accountability versus delegation. Dilemma: while administrators are held accountable for outcomes, they must often delegate tasks, leading to potential lapses in oversight. Resolution: establishing clear accountability frameworks and monitoring mechanisms for delegated responsibilities. Example: a subordinate mismanages public funds, but the responsibility lies with the senior administrator. Rule adherence versus flexibility. Dilemma: strict adherence to rules may hinder flexibility, while bending rules could lead to ethical compromises. Resolution: balancing rule adherence with the flexibility needed to address unique or urgent situations ethically. Example: enforcing strict zoning laws during a housing crisis without accommodating special circumstances. Resource allocation. Dilemma: administrators often face difficult choices when allocating limited resources to competing priorities. Resolution: conducting thorough cost-benefit analysis and engaging stakeholders to ensure fair and justifiable decisions. Example: choosing between funding a new hospital or improving existing schools in a resource-constrained budget. Responsibility to superiors versus responsibility to the public. Dilemma: administrators may be caught between following orders from superiors and acting in the public's best interest. Resolution: upholding ethical standards by voicing concerns to superiors and seeking alternatives that align with public welfare. Example: being directed to implement a policy that disproportionately harms vulnerable groups. Practical strategies. Develop clear ethical guidelines. Strategy: establish well-defined codes of conduct and ethical guidelines for public administrators. Implementation: draft comprehensive codes of ethics that align with constitutional values. Disseminate guidelines to all government offices and institutions. Regularly update these guidelines to reflect evolving social and legal standards. Example: the Central Vigilance Commission (CVC) in India provides clear anti-corruption guidelines. Ethics training and capacity building. Strategy: organize regular ethics training programs for public officials at all levels. Implementation: conduct workshops, seminars, and case study discussions on ethical dilemmas. Integrate ethics training into administrative courses at institutions like LBSNA, Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration. Focus on real-world scenarios to help officials navigate complex situations. Example: mandatory ethics modules in civil services training programs. Establish independent oversight bodies. Strategy: create and empower independent institutions to monitor and address ethical violations. Implementation: strengthen institutions like Lokpal and Lokayuktas to investigate complaints against public officials. Provide autonomy and adequate funding to these bodies. Promote whistleblower protection mechanisms to encourage reporting of ethical breaches. Encourage transparency and accountability. Strategy: promote open governance and public access to information to reduce ethical violations. Implementation: ensure strict compliance with laws like the Right to Information (RTI) Act. Use technology to make government processes more transparent (e-governance). Publish regular audits and performance reports of government departments. Encourage transparency and accountability. Example: implementation of e-governance initiatives like Digital India to reduce red tape and corruption. Adopt inclusive decision-making processes. Strategy: include diverse stakeholders in policy-making to ensure fairness and inclusivity. Implementation: involve civil society organizations, academia, and local communities in decision-making. Set up advisory committees for complex projects to balance competing interests. Conduct public consultations and seek feedback on key policies. Strengthen internal accountability mechanisms. Strategy: set up robust internal monitoring and reporting systems within government departments. Implementation: introduce performance reviews. peer assessments, and departmental audits. Enforce disciplinary actions for ethical violations. Create grievance redressal mechanisms for employees and citizens. Promote a culture of ethical leadership, strategy. Encourage ethical behavior at the highest levels of administration to set an example. Implementation. Recognize and reward public officials who demonstrate integrity and ethical leadership. Ensure that leaders prioritize ethical considerations over political or personal gains. Foster a culture of collective responsibility for ethical governance. Conclusion. Ethical dilemmas in public administration are inevitable in the complex interplay of governance, politics, and public service. Resolving these dilemmas requires a strong moral compass, adherence to ethical principles, and a commitment to public welfare. Training in ethics, clear policies, and mechanisms for accountability can empower administrators to navigate these challenges effectively and uphold the principles of democratic governance. At AskPrep, we aim to bring such insights to help you prepare better for your UPSC and IAS examinations. Thank you. This is AskPrep, Ask Us Anything, your guide to mastering UPSC and IAS preparation. Let's decode complex topics and simplify your journey to success.